our new initiative called Breaking Free. We are highlighting the people and resources available to help, plus the solutions to end the cycle.
But we're also having the conversation about how domestic violence impacts people in our community. Our friend Andy Cerota is with us this morning to tell us what he's found. Andy?
Guys, good morning. You know, Houston is such a melting pot, right? Made up of so many different cultures from around the world, so rich in diversity. Domestic violence advocates from across the Houston area who work one-on-one with abuse survivors are quick to point out that domestic violence, it doesn't discriminate. It happens across all backgrounds, cultures, socioeconomic lines. It truly can impact anyone. In our conversations with these three women, who, by the way, are doing incredible work with abuse survivors, I learned how culture intersects with domestic violence, and it's incredibly significant when you're talking about outreach, how to get these women to come forward, put all the stigmas aside, talk about the abuse, and then get the help that they truly need.
Andy, but do those cultural differences change how people might respond to abusive relationships as well?
Yeah, absolutely. There are so many stigmas attached to domestic violence in every culture. I talked to the Houston Area Women's Center. I talked to an organization called DIA, which works with abuse survivors in the Southeast Asian community. And I talked to a local woman who runs an organization, and she works mostly with abuse survivors in the African American community to help them address many of the unique challenges that they face. So all three tell me that there are cultural barriers that folks bring into how they're dealing or responding to abuse, and listening to their stories, it seems in many cases those challenges may be insurmountable. For example, religion is big. One of the common threads that ties many of these cultures together, and it really truly is one of the biggest barriers. Here's what Sonia Corrales, the deputy CEO at the Houston Area Women's Center, had to say. Let's listen to that.
It's religion that a lot of times people think that they are doing something wrong if they leave, a situation, or that they're going to get divorced, and divorce is a bad thing, in their culture. And so oftentimes they don't leave because they think that they have to stay there. And also in our own culture, we perpetuate that, right? We say, well, you're married, or go to the priest, or go to whoever, and they can help you.
Sonia went on to say that there are people now in the religious community who are coming out to tell people to leave a situation or to seek help, essentially trying to eliminate faith as a barrier to safety. And something else I want to point out, these organizations, these women that I've been talking to, the staff who works with abuse survivors, they're all reflective of the community they serve. For example, in the Southeast Asian community, it is extremely difficult for a woman to even talk about domestic violence and being in an abusive situation. And oftentimes there are code words that are used that only someone from that particular culture would recognize, that they can cue in on. So while there are a ton of great organizations out there, going to an organization and seeking help at an agency that is culturally specific could truly mean the difference between life and death.
Yes, because the experiences are shared, and those women may be reaching out to other women who actually have gone through those experiences. Even speaking the same language or having family from the same country, that connection is so deep. So it would help them tremendously.
And that really gets them to open up and share their stories and be open to the idea of seeking help, because it's not just one stigma, right? There are so many, there's so much depth, there's so much layers to these stigmas. And again, the work that these agencies, these local organizations are doing, just tremendous.
Well, to that point, it could be that cultural, whatever it is, that familiarity that allows someone to feel comfortable enough to get out, talking to someone in the same culture. Maybe gives them that power, right?
And that's truly oftentimes what it takes, because you feel like your voice is being heard. Hey, this person gets me. This person understands what I'm going through. And they just have a ton of resources available. They could always use more money, right, to invest in additional resources. But when I talk about how they work with abuse survivors, I mean, it's tenfold. It's looking at how we can safely get them out of the situation, how we can find you a place to live, how we can help you afford rent. Because, you know, a lot of times, you know, these women won't come forward because they're worried about their immigration status, right? That's something we're really going to dive into coming up at midday and 4 o'clock. But immigration status really forces, in many cases, an abuse survivor, a victim, into silence because they have a whole host of things that they're worried
Well,
about.
they feel like they're being held hostage in many ways.
Absolutely.
Right?
And it just-
By their abuser, in that case by a political system or a country, however that would.
And if they're moms, right, then the kids, right? What happens to the kids? If the kids are born in this country and mom's here illegally, the perpetrator is going to hold that over
Right.
the abuse victim's head.
And the fear is
later.
compacted
The fear-
immensely.
Right. And magnified a million times over.